Good evening. I call this meeting of the Township High School District 211 Board of Education to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Barron?
Here.
Mr. Bradley?
Here.
Ms. Cabell?
Here.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Here.
Mr. McGowan?
Here.
Mr. Rosenblum?
Here.
Mrs. Klimkowitz?
Here. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our next recommended action is to enter closed session, and the recommended action is that the board enter closed session to discuss security procedures, school building safety and security, and the use of personnel and equipment to respond to an actual, a threatened, or a reasonably potential danger to the safety of employees, students, staff, the public, or public property. Probable or imminent litigation against, affecting, or on behalf of the public body. Minutes of meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, and collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Barron?
Aye.
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Cabell?
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Aye.
Mr. McGowan?
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum?
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz?
Aye. And the motion carries, and we'll go into closed session at 6:31. recommended action is that the Board of Education return to open session. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Ms. Barron,
Aye.
Mr. Bradley, Ms. Cabell,
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you and good evening. Before we begin, I would like to read our mission statement because I think it's extremely important. Mission statement reads, Township High School District 211 serves the needs of our diverse community by providing relevant and rigorous learning experiences, opportunities for involvement, and strong support systems that empower all students to reach their full potential. So I thank you, and we will begin our recognition with our state award winners. Dr. Small.
Thank you. Will Mr. Eric Winkowski, the Director of Athletics and Activities, please come forward so we can meet some wonderful students that are here tonight?
Yes, Board of Education, Dr. Small, thank you for taking some time tonight to honor some talented mathletes and for the second year in a row, participants in the IHSA's newest state series, esports. Also here tonight to support and honor their students are FREMD Principal Mark Langer and Assistant Principal Amanda Hughes, and Schaumburg High School Principal Brian Harlan and Assistant Principal Rusty Cummings. Students, as your sponsor introduces you, please walk forward towards the podium. Additionally, any guests that are here with our students, please stand and be recognized when your student is introduced. So we'll get started with our mathletes. Chris Gratoni. Chris Gratoni is a nationally board-certified math and computer science teacher at FREMD High School and a familiar face to District 211 Board of Education meetings. He has been coaching FREMD's math team since 2007 and has been the head coach since 2012. And as we know, Chris is also a proud District 211 graduate. Chris.
It is my pleasure to introduce the members of the FREMD High School math team. I'd like to first start by thanking Dr. Small and the Board of Education. This is the first time during my coaching tenure that the FREMD math team has earned a fourth place trophy at ICTM State, and we couldn't have done it without your enthusiastic support of our program. And of course, our students could not have accomplished this feat without the unconditional love and support they received from their parents who are accompanying them tonight. Please stand and be recognized. Parents. Thank you. When I describe how math team works to coworkers who coach sports, I explain that math team is similar to track and field. The team score is comprised of points earned by many events. The fourth place trophy our students earned represents many successes, from the Froshsoft two-person team to the calculator team to the senior pre-calculus team. Our students worked hard all season. They pushed their mathematical limits, no pun intended, and built a strong community. It certainly paid off at the state competition. Before I introduce the students, please allow me to introduce two amazing assistant coaches who were able to attend the recognition tonight. First, Molly Sagerer, a former high school mathlete herself. Molly's our geometry coach, and she's been with the program for 23 years. And then we have Charles Nichols, who's been coaching math team for 3 years and will be moving on next year as FREMD's new Dean of Students. Finally, I'd like to call each team member forward to receive a District 211 medallion recognizing their accomplishment. When you hear your name, please come forward. First, we have the freshman, Sairam Bitra. Next, we have Ryan Kim, who is first place in the Algebra 1 individual and fourth place calculator team. Ethan Liu. Arnav Shenoy. Murari Thota. Daniel Xiao. Daniel was also first place on the Froshsoft two-person team. Next, we have the sophomores who earned fourth place as a team on the geometry contest. First, Rishi Kanchi. Josh Lin. Alex Park. Andrew Chian. Niv Roy Chowdhury. And Eddie Joe, who was first place on the Froshsoft two-person team, second place individual on the geometry contest, and fourth place on the calculator team. Juniors, we've got Dawood Hussein. Joy Zhang. Alex Kim. Pranav Senthil Kumar, who was fourth place on the calculator team. And Gautam Velupalli. Finally, our seniors will miss you guys. Andrew D., who will be attending the University of Illinois. Albert G., attending Johns Hopkins University. Thomas Liu, fourth place calculator team and attending Brown University. Shoro Mazumder, attending the University of Illinois. Jason C., attending the University of Illinois. Megan Wong, attending MIT. And Sophia Zhao, attending Carnegie Mellon University. Congratulations to you all. You have truly upheld the Fremd Math team's tradition of excellence. Thank you.
All right, now we'll move on to the Schaumburg High School esports team. Adam Kiznichki has been teaching mathematics and computer science at Schaumburg High School for the last 16 years. In addition to being the esports sponsor, he is also the Internet Club sponsor, sophomore math team coach, and the JV boys golf coach. Adam?
Good evening. Along with my esports coach, our co-sponsor, Brent Dakey, who couldn't be here with us tonight, we'd like to thank Dr. Small, Mr. Wankowski, and the Board of Education for supporting our competitive and student activities in District 211. We'd also like to thank Principal Harlan and Russ Cummings, who have been our biggest fans and supporters of esports here at Schaumburg High School. Esports, as Mr. Wankowski acknowledged, has only been around for 2 years as a competitive activity. It continues to grow every year. This year we had over 100 schools and over 1,000 competitors this year, so it keeps getting bigger and bigger, and I'm here to acknowledge some of our state finalists who went up against the best. First up is our Super Smash Ultimate Crew team, who went undefeated the entire season as conference champs, sectional champs, and finally the first ever state champions. First up is Carlo Batista, who is here with his mom, Margarita Miranda. Aiden Kiyomanivong is here with his parents, Nikki Intiraj and Simon Blanco. Damian Long is here with his family, Lanita Long, Dwayne Long, and Donovan Long. Matthew Passione is here with his parents, Sue and Peter Passione. And I'd also like to acknowledge Soya Lee, who could not be in attendance with us tonight, who is also part of this team. We also had a third place state medalist, Christian Chavez, who cannot be here with us tonight, who competed in FIFA. Thank you very much for your support. And as I said, the sport will just keep getting bigger and bigger, so keep looking out for the hard work they put in competitive esports. Thank you.
I am honored to introduce and recognize the volunteers who have stepped up to lead our District 211 Booster Clubs this year in the role of president. For some, it was a new experience. For others, it was something they have done for years and will continue for more. For all, it was a tireless effort to support our students, our staff, our programs, and our schools. Despite the rivalries that may exist between our schools, there is a true partnership within this work. These individuals brainstorm together to make our programs the best that they can be. To those being recognized tonight, you give your time when time is tight, and I'm sure at times it seems like an endless job. Please know that we greatly appreciate all that you have done. When I call your name, please come forward to Board President Anna Klimkowitz to receive your certificate, and we can formally recognize you. First, from the Palatine High School Pirate Booster Club, Jennifer Lang and Mindy May. Between the two of them, Jennifer and Mindy have a combined 4 years leading the Palatine High School Boosters, with Jennifer serving 3 years and Mindy stepping up this year. Among their efforts this year were the dinner auction, the craft fair, which drew 140 vendors, and the dine and share partnerships with local business restaurants. This was an expanded effort each year to offer a variety of eatery options. Thank you to Jennifer and Mindy. From the Fremd High School Viking Booster Club, Jennifer Mears. This is Jennifer's second year at the helm of the Fremd High School Viking Booster Club, and she continued her excellent work raising money and resources for the students and the school. Under her leadership, the boosters ran many fundraising events. The top successes in terms of dollars raised were Build the Legacy virtual fundraiser, the Holiday Craft Fair, and the Split the Pot raffle held during the homecoming celebrations. Thank you, Jennifer. From the William Fremd High School Music Association, Melissa Schlesinger. This is Melissa's first year as president of Fremd's Music Association. This year, the group has worked diligently on music advocacy, both inside and outside of Fremd. Sharing the importance of how music helps students socially, emotionally, and scholastically is extremely important to the association. The group has also helped further the music education of Fremd students with various guest clinicians for events and classroom visits, new supplies for Allstate, and the instrument repairs and concert receptions. Countless volunteers have contributed to this combined effort. Thank you, Melissa. From the James B. Conant Booster Club, Tracy Garcia. This is Tracy's second year as president of the James B. Conant Cougar Booster Club. Under her leadership, the club ran multiple fundraisers. The three most successful, as reported by Tracy, were the popular craft fair, the casino night community event, and the Kona Ice Truck, which was hosted at football games. Thank you, Tracy. From the James B. Conant Band Booster, Neka Hickland. This is her first year as president of the Conant Band Booster, and she worked closely with her vice president and others on the team to make things exemplary for the band this year. Despite some challenges, including the need to boost their numbers of volunteer members, they made things work without complaint. The group was able to continue successful fundraising efforts and manage uniforms as well as the volunteers on and off the field. Thank you. From the Schaumburg High School Very Interested Parents Booster Club, Don Holzer and Sonia Martel. Dawn and Sonia have a combined 3 years between them leading the Schaumburg's VIP Boosters. Together, they work tirelessly to oversee multiple fundraisers. Their top successes include the craft fair, a Dine to Donate program, and increasing their membership dues. Congratulations. From the Schaumburg High School Band Booster Club, Vicki Shadell. This is Vicki's first year leading the Schaumburg High School Band Booster Club. The Band Boosters have organized several fundraisers this year, including the annual bake sale, holiday raffle, and Dine to Donate events. These efforts help to support student musicians and musical programs across the school. The group also maintains the uniform inventory and organizes logistics for performances, including the Jazz and Joe Coffee House and the awards concert reception. Thank you, Vicki. From the Hawk Booster Club, Pam Conway. This is Pam's first year leading the Hoffman Estates Booster Club, which she says she did only with the outstanding support of former President Kate Johnson. This year, the group began by changing its name to the Hawk Boosters. With that title, they ran several successful events, including the Trivia Night, which raised funds for the Hawk's Nest program for those in need, and the Senior Signs Design Competition, which resulted in more than 100 signs purchased. Thank you, Pam. And from the Hoffman Estates High School Music Parents Association, Donica Seminaro Luswick. Donica has served 2 years as the head of the Hoffman Estates High School Music Parents Association, ensuring continued excellence for the school's musicians. Under her leadership, the group this school year sold cheesecakes and spiritware and car magnets. Additionally, the group was able to provide pizza and cake for the district honors band this year and purchase jazz fronts for the jazz band when they perform. Thank you, Donica. Once again, thank you to all our presidents for your hard work. Though often behind the scenes, you make sure our schools and our students are continuing District 211's legacy of excellence. We applaud all of you for all you do and continue to do for District 211. Thank you.
At this point, I'd really like to extend a thank you to our students, the amazing talent that they share with their peers and what they're able to do at the schools and do for themselves. Thank you to the parents and how you support your student and taking them to various competitions, things of that nature. The support that you provide for them, that's extremely vital. So thank you to the parents. And thank you to our amazing booster clubs. I know the young people really appreciate everything that you do for them. They may not tell you enough times, but you deserve 1,000 thanks for everything that you do. The uniforms that get measured and passed out and the different activities and everything that you do for the students is truly appreciated. Thank you for sharing your time and talents with everyone at your schools. At this time, we're going to take some pictures. So we'll start probably with our students. We'll take some pictures. We'll take a break for a few minutes, and then we will continue with our board meeting. And of course, you're welcome to stay, but if there's other pressing things, we can understand.
And the presidents, you're getting a picture also, so don't leave.
Yeah, don't leave. to leave, or if you wish to stay.
Got the brightness right here.
Oh, okay.
So that's
cool.
all the way up right now.
Nice.
You can just do
Okay.
that or that.
Yeah, I like it all the way up.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
So yeah, some people like the dark features on really.
I will.
Weird. I doubt it. I doubt it. They'll bring them back.
All right. Thank you. We will continue with our meeting, and it's the public comments. And at this time, the board welcomes you and is pleased to listen to your comments this evening. It's important that you know this is a public board meeting and not a dialogue, so the board members will not be responding to your comments or answering questions at this time. As a reminder, the board meeting is being taped and live streamed. We ask that you value the procedures and decorum of our meeting and be respectful to those at the podium, so they may all be heard. When I call your name, please come forward to the podium and state your name for the record. Though not required, you may state if you are a resident of the district. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. You will receive a notification when you have 1 minute remaining. Any individual's unused time or place in order may not be deferred to another individual. If you wish a response from the superintendent, please leave your name and phone number with Mr. Teneper. It's at the end of the board desk here. All right. The first person, and I apologize if I mispronounce your name, is Sean Srivastava, and followed by Danica Luswig.
All right. I'm Ishan Shrivastava. I am a resident of the district, but I'll start. So good evening, members of the board. My name is Ishan Srivastava. I am a rising senior at Fremd High School, and today I'm here with my fellow classmates to bring an issue that concerns us and is very important to us. We'd like to bring that to the board's attention. So recently, we received our schedules for the upcoming school year, and us AP German and German 3 kids noticed something unusual with our schedules. They indicated that both of our courses were going to be taught by the same teacher in the same classroom in the same period next year. Now, at first, we were confused and we were uncertain of whether or not this was an error or if there were staffing changes, but when we did ask, we were told that our courses, in fact, were being combined next year for AP German and German 3 to be taught 8th period. Now, this decision to combine German 3 and AP German, the German classes, has left many of us students puzzled and confused and questioning the rationale behind this choice. And that has left us concerned about the implications this may hold on our educational experience as German students. The district cited low enrollment for both courses, and as a directive directly from admin, they decided to combine our courses. While we understand that there is a need for efficiency, we also believe that this decision is not in the best interest of the students. We would understand if the division of the courses and the sections was more lopsided. However, for both AP German and German 3, there are 13 students in each section signed up on each roster for next year. That is 2 evenly split classes, which is comparable to some courses taught, at least in my school, whose class sizes are as big as just 10 students. The point is that this combining our 2 courses will hinder our education, especially for us as AP students coming here today. We are going to be AP students, but we have a particular disadvantage compared to the other language students in that they've had nearly 6 years of education to prepare them for their AP course, while we've had just barely 3. And we are the first generation of COVID students to start after the pandemic, so we already have a hindered educational experience. We want to make sure that we are receiving the best instruction. And under this decision, either German 3 students will receive more challenging material than initially planned, or AP German students might not receive the content that is challenging enough to prepare us for the AP exam due to the dual nature of teaching 2 courses simultaneously. This compromise puts the academic experiences for both students at risk, and additionally puts a burden on us AP students who plan on taking the exam next May. Now, I would like to acknowledge that Frau Soto, our teacher, has been a dedicated educator for over 20 years who puts the best interests of her students before anything. However, even with a great teacher like her, we still believe that combining these 2 distinct courses is going to hinder our ability. There are going to be trade-offs that we just don't think are going to work. Right now, we do have 2 separate sections for AP German and German 3. And we believe that we can maintain that with 13 students in each section. We respectfully request the board to reconsider this decision. We respectfully ask admin specifically to reconsider this decision and to take a closer review, because our education is on the line here for German. And as District 211's motto is, it is to make sure that we are serving the best needs of our students, to serve every student that walks through the school doors every morning. And right now, this decision to us does not seem reflective of that motto. We do not believe that this decision is going to help us. And so we all here together very much implore admin to reconsider this decision and to help us as German students and live up to this promise. Thank you so much for your consideration and your time.
Thank you. Danica Luswig. The next speaker then is Joyce Slavic, followed by Kathy Risberg.
Hi, my name is Joyce Slavic. I am a parent in the district. Guns are now the #1 cause of death for children, surpassing even car accidents. This includes homicides, accidents, and suicides. According to Everytown Research, 4.6 million American children live in homes with at least 1 gun that is loaded and unlocked. Over the past decade, the firearm suicide rate among children and teens has increased by 66%. Black children and teens are 17 times more likely than white children and teens of the same age to die by gun homicide. 3 million American children witness gun violence every year. There are approximately 4,000 children in teen gun deaths a year. That's a lot of death and lifelong trauma. The vast majority of child and teen gun homicide deaths and unintentional shooting deaths and injuries occur in the home. More than 80% of child suicides involve a gun that belonged to a family member. Everyone should do their part to ensure that our kids do not become one of these statistics. It's not a matter of if there will be gun violence affecting our students, it's a matter of when. At the school and school board level, we can do something. The district and school should be promoting gun locks, and gun owners must recognize their responsibility to keep guns out of kids' hands. Free gun locks are available at the Palatine police station. I went in today and got a free gun lock. I walked in the front door. They asked me no questions. They didn't ask my name, didn't ask if I had a gun. They're right near the front door. I received this gun lock with no questions asked, exactly how it's supposed to work. Educating people about this option is so important. I also recognize that as a white woman, I belong to a privileged class. I understand that many people may not be comfortable going into the police station to get a gun lock, so there should be some available at the district office, even at these meetings, or I will personally give this gun lock away to somebody who could use it. Gun lock, this is not a complete solution, but it is a great start, and it's something better than nothing. Thoughts and prayers won't save a single life. Policy, action, and legislation will. We all should and must act within our powers to save kid lives. So if you need a gun lock, thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Risberg, followed by Alex Bernstein.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Risberg, and as a taxpayer for over 45 years in this community, I want to thank you, the District 211 School Board, for the steps you have taken to ensure that the emotional and physical safety of all students and their freedom to learn are top priorities. As parents, grandparents, and residents here in District 211, we, the majority of voices of this community, stand together and want you, the District 211 Board, to know we value and support our public education system and the way it allows the love, compassion, and respect for all students, the love of learning and teaching, and honesty in education in this curriculum to be at the very core. Yet we know that many dark money-funded politicians are so willing to use the dog whistle racism of neo-Nazis, Christian nationalists, and white supremacists to relentlessly use racial fear as a tactic to grow their political base, divide us, and turn us against each other, and also as a way to help increase gun sales for the gun manufacturers who support their election campaigns. These politicians have learned that using racial fear makes it easier for them to mobilize their supporters to turn against our long-trusted institutions, including our system of public education and a government that works for all, and be conned into believing that the 1,600 book titles currently banned in the U.S. by some local and state governments, especially those books that depict the history and accomplishments of people of color and those in our LGBTQ plus community, are inherently dangerous and divisive. This use of racial fear, a foundation of the fascist, hate-filled rhetoric we saw used by Hitler in Nazi Germany, allows these politicians to literally brainwash many of their supporters into believing that America's families are under a greater threat by people of color, by our LGBTQ community, and by members of any faith other than Christianity, than by the tragic and often preventable gun violence that happens in many of our homes, neighborhoods, and in our schools, including in Uvalde, Texas, where just a year ago, on May 24th, 2022, the lives of 19 elementary-aged children and 2 teachers were taken by the horrific gun violence perpetrated by an individual armed with an AR-15. Fortunately, we, the majority of people in District 211, do stand together in our understanding and belief that in a democracy, this constant message of hate, fear, and division is incredibly dangerous to everyone's emotional and physical safety and has no place at these school board meetings, at any place in our community, or on any online social media platform. And we know that given the incredible accessibility to weapons of war and the basic lack of safe storage for so many of these weapons, including handguns in America, words of hate and fear often lead to gun violence in the form of suicide, domestic violence, and community violence, violence that is the #1 cause of death for children in the U.S., as Joyce Slavic just pointed out, and is a threat to all of us, no matter where we are. So that's why we as parents, grandparents, and residents envision a future for District 211 that includes a dialogue with you, the school board, and all interested community members, including our local police departments, on how we can focus on being more proactive and united for the common good and take a stand against hate, book bans, and against gun violence, and also stand together for the safe storage of all weapons owned in this community. Our vision for the future, free of division and filled with a sense of unity and hope, is captured so beautifully by these words from the poem, "The Hill We Climb," by Amanda Gorman. So we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside.
You have 1 minute remaining.
We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say that this is true, that even as we grieved, we grew, even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that we'll forever be tied together, victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Thank you so much, and a happy Memorial Day to everyone.
Thank you. Alex Bernstein?
Hello. My name's Alex Bernstein, and I'm the English Learner Department Chair at Hoffman Estates High School. But that's enough about me because I'm here to support multilingual learners at Hoffman and in the district as a whole. And I want to first and foremost express my appreciation to the board members, many of whom have been visiting our schools and getting to know our students and asking really thoughtful questions about the services that they're receiving. It's so important. And we're here with excitement because we feel like there's a moment where we can transform the education that these students are receiving for a generation. And I'm so grateful. So many of my colleagues from Hoffman and Fremd and Palatine and other schools are here, including the predecessor who served in my position for how many years, Betty? Many, many years. If you guys would please, could you stand up so you could be recognized this evening, please? So, as I was saying, we're here with great urgency, and knowing that there's a moment where we can really have a transformative impact with this school board, with this administration, to change the lives of multilingual students. And there's really a number of challenges that are facing our students because we are not ready for the new immigrants that are going to arrive at our schools in the fall. And we're hoping that you can help us. And the two issues that are really facing multilinguals at the present moment are the fact that there are no rooms in the classes that they will find when they come to Hoffman in the fall, and to Palatine and Fremd and the other schools, and that when they do enroll in these classes, they will find no bilingual classes, by and large, for them to access equitably the curriculum. First of all, as I said, we don't really have a structure in the district to plan for newly arrived immigrants that come after March. All the planning and sectioning for the classes in the district is done, looking at the 8th graders in March. This just doesn't work with the new immigration trends that we've been experiencing in this district, where a majority of the students come between today and October the 1st. Our program, for example, will grow 50% or by 100 students. And to plan for a program that's 50% smaller than its actual size, it is really difficult for our students. So I can't see the future, but with past being future, what's going to happen in the fall that we know that the teachers are here from Hoffman, it's literally keeping them up at night, is that these students are going to come and find classes that literally have no room for them. They are going to be in numbers where there are twice the number of students in a class than their designed capacity. Where district-wide course overcrowding stands at 3% at Hoffman, and this fall it will approach 100%. And then by September and October, when we finally get approval to split these students into new classes and literally find any teacher that we can find who's not under a contract in October to come and educate these students. Their reward is that their classroom schedules, their entire schedules are upended. They're torn apart from these new relationships.
You have 1 minute remaining.
They have with their peers and with other teachers. So please, their experiences are from trauma and war. We ask you to please provide planning so that we can plan now and hire teachers so that we have places for these students who are so impacted. Secondly, in the last 30 seconds that I have here, these students literally cannot access the District 211 curriculum. There are no bilingual classes for them in the core areas of social studies, science, and mathematics. These classes need to have bilingual teachers. I'm asking this board, please make a commitment to hiring bilingual educators so that these students can access this world-class education. Sabemos que el futuro es bilingüe. The future here is bilingual. We need to cultivate bilingual education and provide bilingual opportunities for our students. I really express appreciation for your time, and I invite anyone here to visit Hoffman and to speak with me and these wonderful educators who come here to support multilingual learners tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all of our speakers. All right, at this time, our next item on the agenda is presentations. We do not have any presentations this evening. That takes us to our consent agenda items. Because not all board members were present at the May 11th, 2023 Board of Education meeting, A separate motion on the approval of the minutes of the meeting is going to be recommended. So we'll have two motions. Is there any board member that wishes to have an item removed? Okay. If not, then the first recommended action is that the consent agenda with the removal of the minutes of the regular meeting of May 11th, 2023 be approved as presented. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the consent agenda items? Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Barron,
Aye.
Ms. Cabell,
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Then that takes us to our second recommended action, that the minutes of the regular meeting of May 11th, 2023 be approved as presented. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Barron,
Aye.
Ms. Cabell,
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Abstain.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. All right, the motion carries. That then takes us to information item on Freedom of Information Act requests. Any questions there? All right, then that takes us to unfinished business, the board liaisons. That's an information item. We've assigned people to some of the different committees. Any questions there? Okay. Then that will take us to new business. And hang on a second. All right, under the new business, our first item is the intergovernmental agreement between Township High School District 211 and the Village of Schaumburg and County of Cook. Recommended action is that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to enter into an intergovernmental agreement between the Board of Education for Township High School District 211, Cook County, Illinois, and the Village of Schaumburg for use of body-worn cameras by police on school district property as presented. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Dr. Small?
Public Act 1010652 states that all law enforcement agencies must implement the use of body-worn cameras for all law enforcement officers by the specified schedule within the law and indicates the requirement of body-worn camera usage. The agreement attached to the board agenda indicates the unique position of the school resource officer, or the SRO, in regard to the use of the police-issued body-worn camera. Though the body-worn camera will be attached to the uniform of the SRO will not activate the body camera except in the following situations. Any self-initiated activity where it is previously known or facts developed that a custodial arrest will be made or other law enforcement-related activity will occur. Any self-initiated activity where it is previously known or facts development that the questioning or investigation will or is reasonably likely to be used in later criminal charges. Where it is feasible, when the contact becomes adversarial, the subject exhibits unusual or aggressive behavior, or circumstances indicate that an internal complaint will likely be filed and is otherwise required by the state law. Our school SROs are actively engaged in conversations with our students, parents, and visitors on a daily basis that are unrelated to any investigation of crime. These helpful, supportive, and informative conversations are not being recorded by the body-worn cameras. Any non-SRO that is called to the school campus for assistance or is working an event as a police officer will be wearing and operating their camera as required by their police department and the law. This recommended action tonight is also being reviewed by the Village of Schaumburg for approval and is under the review process by both the Hoffman Estates and Palatine Police Departments as they too are deploying their body-worn cameras. The IGAs of the villages of Hoffman Estates and Palatine will be brought forth at a future meeting.
Any questions? Okay, if there are none, then roll call, please.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Ms. Barron,
Aye.
Ms. Cabell,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. The next item is the recommended action is that the Board of Education approve the purchase of 46 Motorbow R7 two-way radios, including programming from Chicago Communications for $52,624. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. All right, discussion. Dr. Small?
This one's pretty self-explanatory.
Any questions in regards to it? Okay, there are none. Then may I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Barron,
Aye.
Ms. Cabell,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, the next item on our agenda is board member participation in policy development. At our last meeting, it was asked that this be brought for discussion at this meeting. If I may, I'll start and then open that up for discussion. I'd like to note that in the 2022-2023 board liaison descriptions that we had received, that description identified the group that does review the first review of the policies as the administrative board policy group. So that's something that we've had for a long time. I've had the opportunity to sit on the committee, and I'm not certain if anyone else has, so let me just kind of briefly say what that does. The representative that would be on that committee would review the policies that the administration is recommending for creation, revision, or deletion. Usually meets at least 4 times a year during the week, workday and in the morning. Recently, the group that has been meeting is Mr. Schumacher, Mr. Tenopur, and Mr. Hildebrand. And if any of the policies require finance information or human resources, then Ms. Hummel is included and Mr. Britton is included. Sometimes those meetings that we have, we would get the policy ahead of time. The meeting is set. We attend the meeting. The meeting could be very short. It could be maybe 10 minutes, taking a look at the policies, maybe asking a question or two, or it might be self-explanatory of what the policy is. Sometimes it could take a little bit longer, maybe a half an hour. The recommendation after, meeting with Dr. Small and myself and taking a look at our committees, that was why the suggestion came up to not have someone sitting at that group meeting, the advisory administrative group meeting. The place that it probably should be is as we have at our first reading here at our board table where all 7 of us are part of it. Just to let you know, our policy updates, they come from the IASB, they come from the Illinois State Board of Education, and I believe we also get some updates, from our attorney. The staff reviews the laws, the recommendations, et cetera, and they place the suggested changes in policy. And when we get the policy, the changes are usually in red, what the suggestion is, or there might be strikeouts. So we are able to receive that, take a look at it. It comes to us here for our first reading. We can discuss it. We can send it back to committee if we need to. It comes back a second time, and if there's still items that are not clear, we can certainly send it back. There's no cutoff that it has to be voted on the second reading. Our full board receives the board package. We review the policies. Calls can be made to the administration with questions. They can ask questions during the board meeting. Also, the public is able to see the policies when they're part of our board agenda items and comment if they're concerned. I think that offers a great deal of transparency, and also that there's no one person dictating the content of it. It comes before all 7 of us. And any board member may request a review of any policy with consent from the board at any time. And then we have full board discussion. So I would strongly encourage that we not have someone sitting at the administrative board policy group, that the board policies come before us here and we're able to discuss them. It's open, it's extremely transparent, and we are able to ask our questions. So I thank you for letting me speak and bring that up. I'll open it up for very quickly. We have approximately 250 policies. So that's quite a few policies that our administration is managing. And I believe trying to set up some type of a time frame so we do cycle through and review the policies. So, all right, I'm going to open it up. Mr. Dombrowski?
I requested last month that we bring this up. I don't think that policy should be developed by the administration. This is a board responsibility. Even the Illinois Association of School Boards recently in their journal publication had said so. Our policies are supposed to be proactive. They're supposed to be strategic direction provided for the administration. It shouldn't be reactive. When we allow the administration, the attorneys, the IASB, and all these other organizations dictate to us when we're going to address policy and have that discussion outside of the board, it dilutes our role. Additionally, policy developed with the eye of the administration, the staff, the teachers, neglect the voice of the parents and the students that are impacted by this. Some things to consider, and what I would suggest is that this board form a board committee that's open to the public and review the policies. Our negotiation section of our policies is empty. Policies for graduation uses language for a June commencement. We could just say an end-of-year commencement. Updates and revisions to our required reports from the superintendent. When we give this to the administration, we're disconnected from the attorneys and our ability to have that dialogue with the attorneys, and we don't necessarily have a regular review. Policy CE, the administrative councils, cabinets, and committees, has not been updated since 1997. The board policy committee is not listed in there. Adding and deletion of courses for approval, not one of those committees is defined in policy.
Mr. Dombrowski, I'm going to ask that you continue with the focus on that liaison position. And if you
Madam
wish to
President, I requested the discussion for the policy committee, not for a liaison on an administrative committee.
No,
I think you
my
changed that.
understanding was that it was for the liaison committee and a liaison person. And then you handed us a packet with a variety of other things.
Correct.
So that was the direction that we were going in, and that's what was put in here. Board member participation in policy development and looking at a liaison being on the committee. So let's focus on that, and if there are committee or if there are policies that you would like to review, then certainly you can bring them forward to us. And some of those that you had mentioned previously have been reviewed and brought forward to us.
Thank you, Madam President.
All right. Any other discussion?
Yes, I have some comments to
Mr.
make.
Rosenblum.
As we continue our discussion this evening about the Board Policy Committee, I would like to point out a few things to consider. The Board Policy Group has been an administrative committee in our district for at least the last 10 years. In fact, as recently as 2 years ago, it was called Administrative Board Policy Group. This group is described as representatives of the Board of Education review board policies that the administration is recommending for creation, revision, or deletion. The Board Policy Group meets approximately 4 times per year during the workday, usually in the morning, as Mrs. Klimkowitz had said. During the Board of Education meeting on July 11th, 2013, Mrs. Klimkowitz requested that the Administrative Board Policy Committee review policy BCBA board officers. In 2013, the committee included 2 board members, 2 assistant superintendents, and assistant to the superintendent. These people reviewed the policies and made updated recommendations for the Board of Education to review and approve. According to the information Mr. Dombrowski provided us at our last board meeting, beginning with this board seated on April 27th, 2023, board members have been removed from the Board Policy Committee and the committee has been solely defined as an administrative committee. In this information, Mr. Dombrowski also wrote that this decision was made without board approval. The handout Mr. Dombrowski provided at our last meeting states that this action is trying to use policy BFC to remove policy BF. Let's review policy BFC. This policy outlines how policies are adopted. It states these rules and regulations may be revised, added to, or amended at any regular meeting of the board by a majority vote of the members. This policy further states how the policies are disseminated and posted. It has nothing to say about whether a board member sits on the committee or what type of committee it is. I understand the discussion we are having tonight is whether this policy committee should be an administrative committee or a board committee with a board member on it and perhaps chairing it. Mr. Dombrowski suggests that the committee should be chaired by a board member and not allow policies to be ignored or dismissed. I think we all agree that policies should not be ignored or dismissed without board approval. I am unaware of when district policies have been deliberately ignored or dismissed. Policy BF, Board Policy Development, says policies should be adopted by the Board of Education. Adopted. It further states that a board policy committee will consider all policy suggestions and provide information and recommendations to the entire Board of Education to discuss, consider, and action. It says when the Board of Education will review and adopt policy recommendations. It has nothing to say about whether a board member sits on the committee. Over the years, discernment and recommendation on what policies require review or execution have come from legal counsel, administration, and board members. In fact, board member Mr. Dombrowski recommended some policies for review in the handout he distributed 2 weeks ago. In the write-up, Mr. Dombrowski brings up verbiage from the IASB's May-June publication regarding policy review and school governance. In fact, he brought it up this evening. According to the article, if your board only meets once a month and chooses to add the reviewing and monitoring work to the agenda for regular monthly business meeting, to be successful, you will need to block sufficient time to do the scheduled work. Policy making is a critical function of the full board. If your board prefers to assign some pre-work to a committee, this is a local board decision. To be successful in this work and avoid duplication of efforts, the board will need to be clear about the charge to the committee and the role of the full board. I thought this is how the policy committee was set up to operate. In his write-up, Mr. Dombrowski questions the ability of administration to answer questions relative to the effectiveness of policy, as administration is an operational function. I take his comments to indicate that our administration and staff cannot assess and report on the effectiveness of policies in our schools, the very policies to which they are responsible for following and administering. Since they are the ones that have to follow and administer many of them, I believe they can answer questions and make recommendations to the superintendent, policy committee, and the Board of Education relative to their effectiveness. Regarding superintendent responsibilities, in the write-up, Mr. Dombrowski writes, policy development by the superintendent is not an action that is defined or encouraged within district policy. His write-up includes district policy BFC and highlights item A of the functions of the superintendent. I suggest highlighting item F in the functions of the superintendent. This is recommend policies to the board for improvement of the school system and its educational services to the students and the community served. As such, policy development by the superintendent is an action defined within district policy BFC and part of her responsibility. The write-up we received says the administration has defined committees within district policy CE. Policy CE also says the Board of Education encourages the superintendent and administrative staff to create and maintain appropriate groups such as councils and committees to foster good communication within the staff, allow staff members a voice in the decision-making process. So, according to this policy, the administration and superintendent has defined committed and can also create committees. In summary, I agree that it's the board's responsibility to make sure policies are aligned with and supportive of our district's mission and values. I believe the current structure of the Board Policy Committee is appropriate. Directives for policy reviews and updates are provided to the committee by the superintendent, administration, and through a consensus of board members, and committee recommendations are then brought before the Board of Education as a whole for consideration and action. I do not agree that board members need to serve on a committee in the review of content and making recommendations to the Board of Education at the committee level in determining what is then presented to the board members as a whole for consideration and possible action. When presented with policy recommendations, we've always been made aware of the change and associated reasonings, as Dr. Small had mentioned with red lines and such. And Mrs. Klimkowitz, I believe, mentioned that. I do believe board members should serve on the policy committee as a member. I do not believe board members should serve on the policy committee as a member or liaison. As with other administrative committees within our district, such as the curriculum committee, I believe the policy committee can operate effectively as a committee to serve the needs of our district and Board of Education without a board member assigned as a committee member or liaison. Thank you.
Any other?
My
Ms.
only
Cavill?
Thank you. My only follow-up is that, in reading the packet that was distributed to me and hearing the arguments and reading the thing that I found persuasive, and not just from that, but from now sitting on this board for 4 years, the only thing I found persuasive is that I do agree that forming some sort of like a calendar for regular policy review would to streamline and make sure policies that haven't been updated since, for example, 1997, if that is indeed the case, are caught earlier than, for example, 2023. So I think a calendar, like a revolving timetable to close loopholes like that would certainly be useful. And that's something I would like to see or be supportive of.
Thank you. Dr. Small, can you respond to that a little bit about the timing that we have for our policies and our review times?
So in terms of, we're going to take, I think in terms of the question, we're going to take off the policies that need to be changed because they're required by law, policies that need to be reviewed because the board is directing us to review them. So these are policies that there's nothing triggering us to look at it, but should be on a rotation for all the policies, the approximate 250 we have. There are two ways this can occur. One is we can set up an internal rotation that was actually in process in the 2019, prior to COVID kind of slowing that regular work down. And that, as I said, could be an internal process where we look at which ones are the oldest to rotate through, or any other direction if the board by consensus wants to give one. There is another rotation that is given to us by the IASB. They actually do a internal rotation of their policy checks through press. That is part of our fee that we send to them. They then give us updates via their rotation that they think each board should look at for updating. The challenge behind that, though it is not insurmountable, is that the press policies do not line up with our policies one for one. So if we are going to, we can, with the board's consensus, look at a rotation, and I think we will come back with a recommendation for the board whether it is more efficient or convenient to do an internal rotation that we've set up, or to start a rotation that mimics the press rotation through the IASB.
And hopefully that will address the issues. And if anyone has a question about a policy, we can certainly bring it to the board here. And if there's consensus to review it or make some changes, then that would go to the administrative board group. Ms.
Yes,
Barron?
just two things. One, if I'm correct, Mr. Dabrowski brought up that students' voices aren't really part of that process when creating policies. But correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Small. Students do participate in committees at their home schools, who then in turn have an opportunity to talk about policies and make suggestions as to any of our policies. Is that correct?
So students who have suggestions for changing their school can certainly do that. If it is a policy, they would have to work through either whatever committee they're on or through their administration for us. There are some committees that are set up for that. For example, our equity team has in the past reviewed some of our policies, and that equity team includes students on it.
And if I may add to that, then our strategic plan, that included students and covered a number of concerns that they had, maybe if it talked about discipline or clothing, things of that nature. So students did have a voice in that.
Perfect.
Good
And then just a suggestion, as far as those that are part of this committee, I just would suggest that our director of equity be part of that committee as well. I think our director of equity would bring in a very valuable perspective when we're creating or looking at policies as well.
Thank you. We'll talk about that.
Thank you. All right, any other comments?
I have one more, and that is a concern that maybe parents and others in the community are not having an opportunity to voice their concerns on any of the policies that we have or getting feedback on policies that we're considering, especially when they come to us for first review. That's our jobs as a Board of Education, is to listen to and solicit feedback from members of our community. Perhaps if parents and others in the community do have concerns, and I know there's a lot that are watching live streamed or recording, that they approach us and let us know if there's anything of concern that they have regarding those, and we can further discuss them and perhaps bring them up for consideration.
Right. And you've brought up a couple of good points here. One of the things that we look at and information we get out to the families and the students is in the calendar, because whether they realize it or not, the rules, the guidelines, and things of that nature are basically our policies. And a lot of it is proactive that we try to do and get that information out to the parents, to the students, you know, what the expectations are, what the behavior is, how to, you know, contact administration, whatever it might be, how to report things. So I think there is some things there, and maybe at some point we need to take a look at our calendars and see what we're putting in there, if we need to add anything else.
Those are reviewed annually.
Okay. All right. All right. Anything else?
Yes, I'd like to just finish a couple of things. Policy ECB-E, FEC-E is a policy dated 1987 related to the sales of textbooks.
I'd like to call point of order, as Mr. Dombrowski is asking to have items added to our agenda for that perhaps should be added for future discussion on the, and are not related to the policy committee itself. So, so perhaps that should be brought up at a different time during this meeting.
And possibly we can allow the superintendent to work with the administrative team to take a look at which policies are still in force, which should be deleted, and a review, as Dr. Small had indicated, really taking a look at it.
Madam President, with all due respect, the process as it is, I don't believe is working well for us as far as review of our policies go. That's my opinion. Thank you for allowing me to share that.
And hopefully we'll continue working on it and refining it, and get it to work as well as we can to make it informative for everyone and do the best that we can. All right, I'm going to ask for consensus that we do not have a liaison on that committee, you know, as has been recommended, and that the readings, you know, come to us and all 7 board members participate. So I'm going to ask for consensus. Ms. Barron?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Rosenblum?
I agree.
Okay, Ms. Cavill?
Agree.
Mr. Dombrowski?
I strongly, wholeheartedly disagree.
Okay. Mr. McGowan?
I agree.
Okay, I agree also. So we will go with the policies coming before the board. Please reach out to the administration if there's questions, so we can have a discussion here, because this is where it needs to be. So, all right, I thank you very much.
And we can recap that. I think that, to Mr. Dombrowski's point, the review of our rotation of our policies definitely could use some updating. Absolutely, I just don't necessarily feel there needs to be a liaison. I do have faith in the administration and Dr. Small that they will do what's best policy-wise. And at the end of the day, those policies that are edited, revised, and or created are brought to the board for approval. So it wouldn't make sense to sit in on a meeting as well as be the final authority to adopt those policies.
Okay, thank you. All right, that will take us to our next item, which is potential topics for future discussion. I've not had anything from anyone.
Please,
If
I
you
think-
have some policies that you would like
no,
reviewed?
I'd like to address the English as a second language or EL learners. It's been 3 consecutive meetings that this topic's been brought up. I don't know if we need a presentation or a discussion. There seems to be a disconnect somewhere.
The
Doc-
board has received information on it after the first one. If there is something the board would like, we can certainly put that together.
What specifically are you looking for, Mr. Dombrowski?
I don't know if there's a lack of communication to our teachers, that there's a fear that there's going to be an inadequate response from the district as far as handling students coming in next year between September and October.
Right.
I have no issue with having that as an item for future discussion. Maybe at our next board meeting, we could talk about the situation that we have as a district regarding our ELL students and what this board can do to further address and support that. And I'd also maybe like to ask the administration, Dr. Small, to put something together to further, and maybe it's a repeat of what you've already provided us, to refresh us on what's going on and how we can best support the needs of our staff, the needs of our students, whether they be newcomers or existing ELL students.
And to clarify, it's an operational issue that lies with Dr. Small. I have no intention of undermining it. It's just after the topic being addressed to the board after 3 meetings, I don't want to be perceived as ignoring an issue that may already be resolved or may just need additional communication.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to chime in here, Madam President, if I
Yes.
could for just a moment, and try and assuage some of those raised fears. I certainly haven't taken this lightly. I know other board members have not either. I took Palatine High School staff up on the offer to come and meet their students and observe some of the classes that they have spoken about. I had a meeting with those teachers, their department chair, Mr. Medina. The principal of the school was unfortunately called away that day, so I wasn't able to meet with him, but he had some information waiting for me when I got there. I am under the impression that other board members also have taken the opportunity to behave similarly and enter into discussions with those raising concerns. So I know that the way the board is formatted, the way that we are directed by law to work, and the way these meetings are set up can certainly lead to the impression for perhaps even casual observers that a non-response means a lack of action. That's very rarely the case in my experience. And that certainly hasn't been the case for myself, and I don't think for many other people on this board, although I'm not going to presume to speak for everyone. I'm certainly not opposed. I would like to raise this as a potential topic for future discussion. I had in mind to do so, not necessarily yet. I wanted to think some more, talk to some more people, ask some more questions before I'm there. But of course, I'm only one person. If the consensus view of the board is that they're ready to have that discussion now, I will make sure I'm ready to engage in that discussion informatively. I certainly I think Mr. Dombrowski's point about it being an operational issue is very, very important. And the board's role in this matter is really to provide strategic direction, allocation of resources, potentially, and a reaffirmation of priorities, in line with our strategic plan. So I think that there is potentially, a role for the board to play in making sure that our mission is carried out for every student that walks through our doors, and to speak to some of the issues that have been raised. But I just wanted to provide the community, those watching, that though I understand the perception, feels sometimes like a lack of response at these physical meetings. That does not necessarily and very rarely means a lack of actual response on the part of the board. So I'm certainly excited for this discussion to come before, whether it's the meeting or the meeting after. I'm open to. I don't necessarily need it to be, but that's up to the board as a consensus to determine.
Excellent points. We have had the speakers, and Ms. Cavill, as you noted, there are things that are going on that are addressing some of those issues that maybe people aren't aware of. So probably having a discussion and with a little bit more information and clarity would be good. Dr. Small, do you think it would be possible to, not necessarily for the June meeting, but maybe July meeting, give us an update as to how we're looking at the ELL students, the facilities, things of that nature? Is that a possibility for maybe July?
Sure. And I'd like to just provide further clarification that it is my understanding from public comments and certainly from the conversations I've had with those raising concerns and my observation of the classes that, the main concerns, top priorities, that we are not reserving space for students who we know will likely arrive in the year, and our lack of planning is resulting in a certain amount of schedule changes and lack of consistency for students who we did plan for because they were already registered on our timeline in March. So that is a question of whether or not we're reserving enough space for students we expect to show up, but who are not yet present for our sectioning that takes place in the spring. Top concern. Second, whether or not we are meeting what has been presented as a state requirement for providing native language instruction in core areas as mandated, contingent on the quantity of students that speak said language. So in terms of information that we need from the administration, Dr. Small, I just wanted to make sure that we're aware of exactly what sort of information we're talking about. And the people who have been bringing concerns to us have been raising very specific issues, and those two seem to be consistently the most important.
And how do we balance all of that? I think that's an important thing. All right. Do we have consensus, Ms. Barron?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Rosenblum?
Absolutely.
Okay, Ms. Cavill?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Aye.
And Mr. McGowan?
All right.
All right. So Dr. Small, if you can put something together and maybe for the July meeting. Okay. Any questions that you have of us, Dr. Small?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Another item I would like to consider for future discussion, sorry for not bringing it up prior, is we've also heard at several board meetings regarding gun safety, and especially very specific to gun locks and their availability. Now, I know that there can be complications from an individual we heard tonight during public comments regarding offering gun lock distribution in our schools and the ability of people to come to our schools to pick those up or receive those and things like that, in our facilities. And I understand some of the challenges around that. But I would like perhaps for an item for future discussion, how we can further promote, and we've had this discussion a little bit as well, further promote the availability and accessibility of free gun locks from many different sources, from sporting goods stores to law enforcement offices, police stations, and the like, promoting those to our students, to our parents, to our families. And I know oftentimes it's easy to say, well, we'll put it on our website and then people have to go there to see it, but maybe some way that we can push it out to individuals to promote and make them aware of the availability of these free items that can contribute to the safety of our students and our community, and some creative things. And maybe the administrators and maybe even students can come up with some creative ideas and ways to get the word out, so to speak.
Are you talking about gun safety in general or specifically about these gun locks?
Yes.
All right, let me have the consensus of the board. And, you know, we had the meeting with the police today, and obviously we didn't think of maybe asking them that question. But I'm wondering, is there anything that the police departments can do to do more of a push at their end in regards to it? Because they usually have tables set up at different places, and hopefully they have those available at, you know, the Schaumburg, I know, has their Septemberfest. Hoffman has activities, and Palatine has things. So maybe there's things that they could
That
be
they can
doing
do with
also.
us, because I'm talking about specifically with our schools and our district in supporting and promoting that. Because I know that the law enforcement programs are already doing that, be they at a flea market or if they're out at a community event or a holiday function. We have a big holiday function coming up in a couple weeks in the community.
Maybe they need to do more of a promotion in regards to it. All right, let me see if there's consensus to bring this up to see how we can do this. I'll start at this end this time. Mr. McGowan.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and speak to it. I don't think that, in my opinion, keeping gun safety is absolutely important. But in my opinion, it is not solely the school's responsibility to keep firearms out of school. It is the parents, it is communities, and like you said, it is the police department's full responsibility to keep it. We, as a school district, I feel like we already carry too much a burden of keeping our children safe when in reality, our neighborhood should be safe first. That way our schools will be safe. So I don't think that we should get involved and use resources and or time to put something that is ultimately not the responsibility of the district, in my opinion.
Thank
I would
you.
also like to add that most responsible gun owners that have a FOID card and have gone through training, they have, if they're going to get a gun lock or secure their guns with a gun safe, they've already done so. I don't see gun owners in our community all of a sudden getting a message from D211 going, yeah, I need to get a gun lock now. So I think it's a lot of effort for a low return on that investment.
Ms. Cavill?
I'm certainly in support of the philosophy behind the ask. I just wonder if, honestly, bringing up as a potential item for future discussion is slow. I just wonder if it is a, more efficiently handled task to, for example, ask the administration to ask our SROs, where are places that we could hang up just general information about the fact that these exist. They're certainly available for a resource. Now, if the question is, should we figure out a plan to use our buildings and our district apparatus to distribute these gun locks, I would like more information from law enforcement first, the existing relationships we already have, before I determine whether or not that needs to be the right course of action is to have a big discussion here at the board table, if that makes sense. So I'm not ready to say yes to that yet for those reasons. I hope that.
All right, so at this time, there's no consensus to have a discussion in regards to it at this time.
I'm not up for a discussion necessarily, but I'm certain, I'm certainly in support of saying, I wish this had happened before we had the meeting this time.
And maybe this could be part of our continued discussion. We have Mr. Hildebrand, and who keeps in touch with the police officers, and maybe they can shed a little bit more information on some of their thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we take action.
Okay.
Yeah, if any merit is merited.
Okay. Ms. Barron?
I agree as well that we should hold off on taking any action for this to be a future topic. I think we have from what I've heard tonight, we have a really great relationship with our police department. So asking if they already have materials, like suggested by our board members, if they already have materials created that we can just post around our schools, post on our social media, duplicating the efforts just doesn't seem something that we should do as a district. So yes, I would like to hold off on for this to be a future topic.
Okay, thank you. All right, and Mr. Rosenblum, you're in favor of it. I would not support it at this time also. I think we've got a good relationship with the police. Mr. Hildebrand can give us a little bit more information. School safety, we have said this numerous times, is extremely important. And I think we've taken steps to keep our students, our staff, our visitors as safe as we can. Can we do more? Quite possibly. But I think at this time, let's see if we can get some other information in regards to it, and maybe at a future time, bring this up as a board topic. Thank you. Is there anything else, any other potential topics? All right, thank you. The next item is committee reports. Ed Red and Mr. Rosenblum.
So Ed Red had a legislative roundtable yesterday. Fortunately or unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend because I was at Schaumburg's graduation ceremony. So that's the fortunately that I wasn't able to attend, but unfortunately I wasn't able to attend and report back. However, Ms. Hummel did attend, so I'll defer to her for an update on how the legislative roundtable went last night.
Thank you. There are a number of bills that passed. I will provide a very brief summary of some of the ones that are most pertinent to us. In the category of, Ed Red always have some initiative bills. In that category, Senate Bill 2240 was college remediation data sharing. That's between community colleges and local high school districts. That passed. House Bill 3690 is professional development and mandated trainings, which implements new trainings, including trauma, stop the bleed, and homelessness by school year 25, and then puts other mandated trainings on a 5-year cycle. There's a House Bill 3592 on student protections and tenure dismissal hearings. This is in the category of policy and program mandates. House Bill 3425 requires notification to family members when their student has been involved in a bullying incident. Senate Bill 183 talks about communication plans with parents when their students are recommended for an alternative school transfer.
Sorry, can you speak up just a little bit
Yep,
there?
sorry.
We lost you there at the end.
Did you hear Senate Bill 183 on alternative school transfers? Okay. Senate Bill 1488 is a teacher performance task force where they're working to collect additional information. Senate Bill 2243 is ISBE is required to create a state literacy plan on a defined schedule. In the category of special education, Senate Bill 2039 has to do with students with IEPs and PUNS list and PUNS database notification. There is House Bill 3224, which talks about students in special education transition programs and service notifications. House Bill 3680 is students with IEPs and 504s must have emergency accommodation plans developed within their education plan. And there was information that was provided on the budget, which has not yet been approved, but is hopefully scheduled for Friday, where there is additional funding that is provided for education in the teacher vacancy program, computer science grant, and continued funding for evidence-based programming, evidence-based funding, excuse me. Senate Bill 90 is the Racism-Free Schools Act with additional training and reporting requirements. There are 3 curriculum bills that require additions by school year 25, including a unit on Native American history, fentanyl education, and allergen safety education. Senate Bill 74 is a property tax installment payment program task force to be developed. Senate Bill 1994 is cash on hand reporting, requiring boards to create a reduction plan when they have 2.5 times more than their average annual operating fund balance. House Bill 3402 is hiring priorities that are determined when hiring positions for PE, music, and visual arts educators. Senate Bill 1352 extends the 30-day notice of resignation for teachers to non-tenured teachers as well. Senate Bill 1872 reduces the probationary period for tenured teachers, or for tenure from 4 to 3 years for teachers. That's
I
a quick
can-
summary.
If I can just make two brief comments. Sometimes I think the first bill that she referenced was the college data sharing. Certainly, legislators passed bill to ensure things happen. I will say that our relationship with Harper is excellent. I don't know that all school districts have the same relationship, but I do want the board not to misread that bill, that we have an excellent data sharing situation already going with Harper College. Then at the end, Lauren referenced the tenure change from 4 years to 3. That will have us shift multiple items, not only in our new teacher program, but how we evaluate our our non-tenure teachers. And I believe that is going into effect July 1. So we will be moving very quickly.
July 1?
Yes, July 1, 2023.
It would be nice if they gave us a little bit more lead time to be able to plan accordingly. This is not good, and that was just a plethora of laws, of bills that have been passed.
Yeah, there's a lot of bills that are either passed or are going through right now. Another one is Senate Bill 990 that I brought up here before about schools selling property, and that schools that have I'll call it a good sized piece of property have to first, if it goes through, and it hasn't passed yet, it's still going through legislative consideration, that school districts would have to first offer it at a fair market value to the municipality in which the property lies, and so that municipality will have an option to buy it at the fair market value that it is assessed at, regardless of what the district wants for it. And then if they don't want it, then the district can start to market that for what they think it's worth, opposed to the assessed value. So a lot of discussion that is being discussed over the summer, I understand. So thank you, Ms. Hummel, for that update and attending the meeting last night. The June member meeting is scheduled for next Friday. I am attending. It's going to be with State Superintendent Dr. Tony Sanders.
Thank you. The next is the District 211 Foundation Report. We were to have a meeting yesterday, but the meeting has been postponed to June, so I do not have a report at this time. The last item is the Illinois Association of School Boards report. Mr. Rosenblum?
Thank you. So just wanted to mention that the joint annual conference, the III conference, as it's so fondly called, is still scheduled for the weekend before Thanksgiving in Chicago. And registration is scheduled to open on Monday, June 5th. I think I'll work with Dr. Small to get more information out to our board members who may be interested in attending, and how to go about, if you are interested in attending, how about going through the approval process, the registration process, what the options are, and things like that.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, then I'm sorry.
Under that category, we had sent a note out to the board about July 20th.
Yeah, oh, yes.
You want to speak to that?
July 20th, we're looking to do basically a board evaluation, looking at our protocols, looking at our agreements of working together. So please get back to Dr. Small or myself and let us know of your availability on
July 20th.
July
We would
20th.
start at 5:30. It is a regular board meeting day. So we would do closed session starting at 5:30 and then come back to open session at 7:30.
We have a new director, Arlana, and her last name escapes me at the moment, but she would be the person facilitating the meeting with us. Okay, thank you. All right, then that takes us to our upcoming events. You've got the calendar of events. There's our next board meeting, June 15th. And the next item is closed session. Since we did not finish closed session, we still have a number of items that we have to discuss. The recommended action is that the board enter closed session to discuss security procedures, school building safety and security, and the use of personnel and equipment to respond to an actual, a threatened, or a reasonably potential danger to the safety of employees, students, staff, the public, or public property. probable or imminent litigation against affecting or on behalf of the public body. Minutes of meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act. Appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, and collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Barron,
Aye.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. So that'll take us to closed session at 9:12 PM. Okay. All right. We're good? All right. So the recommended action is that the board return to open session. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Barron,
Aye.
Ms. Cavill, aye. Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum.
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. Okay, the motion carries. The next item is retirement requests. The recommended action is that the Board of Education accepts the retirement request of John Jonan effective May 2027 according to the master contract of the District 211 Teachers Union. Nicole LeBeau effective May 2027 according to the master contract of the District 211 Teachers Union. Jennifer Mogi effective May 2027 according to the master contract of the District 211 Teachers Union. Jennifer O'Keefe, effective May 2027, according to the master contract of the District 211 Teachers Union, and Lenore Rathman, effective December 2023, according to the master contract of the District 211 United Support Staff. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Cavill, aye. Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Ms. Barron,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum.
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye, the motion carries. And with no other business to come before the board, then the board president declares this meeting of the Board of Education adjourned at 9:53 PM. Thank you.